My child. Everything looked perfect. The wedding hall was full. The guests were smiling. The cameras were recording every second. And the wedding rings had finally arrived. But the moment your person slowly opened the wedding ring box, they saw one single name hidden inside. And in that exact second, everything stopped. Listen carefully. No one in that room understood why your person's hands suddenly began to shake. Their breathing became heavier with every passing second. The smile that had been carefully forced onto their face completely disappeared. The music continued playing in the background, but inside their heart, time had frozen. The family members thought perhaps something was wrong with the ring. The photographer believed the moment had simply become emotional. The guests whispered that maybe the excitement had become too overwhelming. But no one knew the real reason. Because the name written inside that ring box was your name. Don't skip. Your person stared at those letters again and again, almost unable to believe their own eyes. It wasn't written by accident. It wasn't a printing mistake. Someone had placed that name there intentionally. Almost as if heaven itself had decided that one final truth could no longer stay hidden. Immediately, memories they had buried for years came rushing back. The promises, the conversations, the silent nights, the tears no one had ever seen. Every single emotion they had tried to suppress suddenly returned stronger than ever before. Across the room, your person's mother noticed something was terribly wrong. She quietly walked closer and softly asked, "What happened?" Your person couldn't answer. Instead, they slowly turned the ring box toward her. The moment she looked inside, the color completely disappeared from her face. Her hands began trembling. For several long seconds, she couldn't even speak, because she recognized that name immediately. It was the one name everyone in the family had spent so much effort trying to erase. The one name they believed would never return. Your name. Suddenly, whispers began spreading across the wedding hall. What happened? Why has everything stopped? Why aren't they exchanging the rings? No one had any answers, except one elderly relative, who quietly stepped back after seeing the ring box. His expression revealed something frightening. Almost as if he had known this day would eventually come. Don't skip. Far away from the crowd, another family member silently reached into their pocket. Inside was an old folded letter, sealed many years ago. A letter nobody had ever been allowed to read. Until today. That person slowly whispered, "The truth cannot stay hidden anymore." Without warning, they began walking toward the center of the wedding hall. And the moment they unfolded that forgotten letter, every person in the room turned around. No one realized that what was written inside those pages would completely change everything everyone believed about you. And exposed the secret that had been hidden since the very beginning. The silence inside the wedding hall became almost unbearable. No one dared to move. Even the music had been stopped. Every guest could sense that something far more important than a wedding was unfolding before their eyes. The elderly family member slowly unfolded the old letter with trembling hands. The paper had turned yellow with age, its edges worn from being opened and hidden countless times over the years. Before reading a single word, they closed their eyes for a brief moment, as though preparing themselves for a truth that could no longer remain buried. Your person's mother whispered nervously. Please, don't read it here. But it was already too late. The elderly relative quietly replied. This letter should have been read years ago. Don't skip. Every eye in the room remained fixed on that fragile piece of paper. The first sentence alone caused complete silence. If this letter is ever opened on the day of your wedding, stop everything before it is too late. A wave of confusion spread across the hall. People looked at one another, unable to understand who could have written such words years in advance. Your person's breathing became heavier. Their hands tightened around the ring box while their eyes never left the letter. The next lines revealed something no one had expected. The writer admitted that someone inside the family had deliberately hidden the truth about you. Not because you had done anything wrong, but because they believed separating the two of you would protect the family's reputation. That single confession hit the room like thunder. Several relatives immediately lowered their heads. Others refused to make eye contact. For years they had protected a secret that was now beginning to fall apart. Your person's mother slowly stepped backward, tears gathered in her eyes as forgotten memories returned one after another. She remembered every conversation, every warning, every lie she had chosen to believe without asking a single question. Don't skip. Your person could no longer stay silent. With a shaking voice they asked, "Who wrote this?" No one answered immediately. Instead, the elderly relative turned to one corner of the room where an old wooden box had been sitting untouched since the ceremony began. Very few people even noticed it before. The relative walked toward it slowly, opened the lid, and removed a small envelope tied with a faded ribbon. "This," they said quietly, "is the final piece of the truth." Your person's mother recognized the envelope instantly, years ago. She had personally ordered it to be hidden forever. She never imagined it would return today. The envelope carried only 3 handwritten words on the front. For the wedding. A chill passed through everyone standing nearby. The bride's family looked completely confused. The groom's relatives stood frozen. No one knew what the envelope contained. But somehow, everyone felt that once it was opened, there would be no turning back. Don't skip. With trembling fingers, your person carefully untied the ribbon. Inside was not money, not photographs, not legal papers. Instead, There was a handwritten note. And beneath it, a much smaller folded card. Your person opened the note first. The handwriting looked painfully familiar. It belonged to someone they had trusted more than anyone else. As they silently read the first few lines, their entire expression changed. Shock, disbelief, regret. Every emotion appeared on their face at once. Then, without saying a single word, they handed the note directly to their mother. The moment she finished reading it, she covered her mouth and broke down in tears. "No," she whispered. "We destroyed the wrong future." The entire wedding hall fell silent again, because everyone suddenly realized the marriage standing before them had been built upon a lie that had survived for years. And just as your person reached for the smaller folded card hidden beneath the note, a voice from the entrance shouted, "Don't open that unless you're ready to learn who secretly placed your name inside the wedding ring box." Every head in the hall turned toward the doorway. The person standing there had been missing for years. And in their hand was the second ring box. The entire wedding hall turned toward the entrance. For a few long seconds, no one even recognized the figure standing there. Time had changed their appearance. Years of silence had left deep lines across their face. But the moment your person's mother looked closely, her knees nearly gave way. She whispered only one sentence. "It can't be." The room instantly filled with anxious whispers. Some guests stepped aside. Others instinctively reached for their phones, sensing that something unbelievable was about to happen. Yet the mysterious visitor paid no attention to anyone else. Their eyes remained fixed on your person. In one hand, they held the second ring box. In the other, they carried a small leather journal that looked just as old as the letter that had already shaken the entire ceremony. "Don't skip." Your person slowly walked toward the stranger. Every step felt heavier than the last. When they finally stood face to face, the stranger spoke in a calm but emotional voice. "I never wanted today to happen like this. I tried to tell everyone the truth years ago, but no one was willing to listen." A silence settled over the room once again. Your person's mother lowered her head. She already feared what was coming next. The stranger carefully placed the second ring box into your person's hands. "This box was supposed to reach you a long time ago. It never did." Your person's fingers trembled as they opened it. Inside was another wedding ring. Unlike the first one, this ring had never been worn. It looked untouched, as though it had been waiting for this exact moment. Engraved inside the band were two initials. One belonged to your person. The other matched yours. A collective gasp echoed across the hall. No one could deny what they were seeing. Someone had prepared these rings years before today's ceremony. Long before anyone else had entered the picture. Don't skip. The stranger then opened the old leather journal. Its pages contained dates, conversations, and handwritten notes stretching back many years. Every important moment had been carefully recorded. Every meeting, every promise, every obstacle, every attempt to separate the two of you. Nothing had been forgotten. The stranger looked directly at the family and quietly said, "You believe time would erase the truth. But time protected it." One by one, they began reading the entries aloud. Each page exposed another hidden decision. A family discussion that was never supposed to be known. A meeting where someone insisted your name should never again be mentioned. A promise made in secret. A message that had been intercepted before it ever reached your person. With every new page, another member of the family lowered their eyes. The silence became heavier than words. Then came the final entry. The stranger paused before reading it. Even they struggled to continue. Finally, they spoke. "If this journal is ever opened on the day another marriage is about to happen, give them the second ring. Because the first ring will reveal the lie. But the second ring will reveal the truth. Don't skip." Before anyone could react, the doors at the back of the hall slowly opened once again. Another unexpected visitor entered. This time, they weren't carrying a letter. They weren't carrying a ring. They were carrying a sealed envelope marked with a court seal. The entire room froze. The visitor raised the envelope and announced, "I've come to deliver the document that explains who changed the original wedding arrangements. And every signature inside this file belongs to someone standing in this room." The color drained from several faces at once. Because they knew. Once that envelope was opened, there would be no way to hide what really happened all those years ago. The visitor carrying the sealed court envelope stepped into the center of the wedding hall and placed the file on the table beside the wedding rings. The room was so quiet that everyone could hear the sound of the envelope touching the wooden surface. Your person looked from the second ring to the sealed document, realizing that every answer they had searched for over the years seemed to be standing right in front of them. Their mother could barely remain standing. She already feared that the final truth would expose decisions she had spent years trying to justify. The visitor slowly broke the official seal and removed several documents. "These are the original marriage records," they said. "Years ago, a completely different future had been planned. But before everything could happen, someone secretly changed the arrangements." The first page revealed dates. The second page revealed names. The third page revealed signatures. Then everyone noticed one shocking detail. One signature had been forged. Someone inside the family had pretended to be another person in order to stop the path that would have brought you and your person together. The entire hall erupted into whispers. No one expected the truth to be this serious. Don't skip. Your person's hands began shaking again as they carefully examined every page. They immediately recognized one signature because it belonged to a trusted relative. But the handwriting was wrong. It had been copied. Someone had deliberately forged it. The elderly relative who had protected the letters finally spoke with tears in their eyes. I tried to stop this. I warned everyone that lies never stay buried forever. But fear was louder than truth, and nobody wanted to listen. Those words pierced the silence like an arrow. Several family members who had remained silent all day finally admitted they had always suspected something was wrong, but they never had the courage to question those making the decisions. Your person's mother stepped forward, unable to hide her emotions any longer. She looked directly at her child and whispered, "I believed I was protecting you. I thought I was saving you from pain. I never realized I was creating a much greater one." Tears rolled down her face as she slowly removed the ceremonial wedding scarf from her shoulders. She turned toward the guests and said, "This wedding cannot continue while the truth is still standing outside the door." Gasps echoed throughout the hall. The families who had spent months preparing for the ceremony suddenly understood that everything had changed. Don't skip. Your person gently picked up the second ring once more and looked at the initials engraved inside it. For years they had convinced themselves that forgetting you was the only way forward. They had tried to silence every memory, every unanswered question, every feeling that refused to disappear. But now every hidden letter, every forgotten journal, every confession, and every document pointed to the same truth. They had never truly left you behind. They had only been living inside a story written by someone else's decisions. At that exact moment, the elderly relative reached into the leather journal one final time and removed a small folded photograph that had remained hidden between its pages for years. The picture showed your person smiling in a moment almost everyone had forgotten. On the back of the photograph were just 8 handwritten words: "Some promises are delayed, but never destroyed by destiny." Your person closed their eyes as tears finally fell freely. They realized that the greatest loss in their life had never been love itself, it had been believing a lie for far too long. The wedding guests slowly began leaving their seats in complete silence. No arguments remained. No excuses remained. Only truth remained. Your person's mother walked to the center of the hall, held both ring boxes in her hands, and quietly said, "Today we plan to celebrate a wedding. Instead, we uncovered the truth that should have been revealed years ago. From this moment forward, no one in this family will hide another lie." As the lights inside the hall dimmed and the last whispers faded away, your person held the second ring tightly and looked toward the open doorway, no longer filled with fear but with hope. They knew the journey ahead would not be easy, but for the first time in years they were ready to follow the truth instead of the lies. Sometimes a single hidden name inside a wedding ring box is enough to stop an entire ceremony, but it can also be the beginning of the future that was always meant to be.